Well, Newcastle United are always in the news, as we know, and this Monday morning is no different at all. We've got news about Bruno and Isak wanted by other teams. Newcastle likely to go back in for a centre-back in the winter transfer window. Callum Wilson is expected to be back for the PSG game. However, not according to the Telegraph. World Cup winner Frank Leboeuf has been talking about the game against PSG on Wednesday, and Alan Shearer has suggested that we go in for a very, very good striker. This is the Daily News. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Daily News. My name is Paul, and I'm joined today by Billy Bob, of course, to go through these Daily News stories with you. But before we get cracking, as usual, if you do like the show, please do hit that like button. Very important that we continue to get the likes on the channel. And, of course, if you're new and like what you see, please do hit the subscribe button, completely free of charge. Come and be part of this amazing community. And, of course, hit that notification bell, which will let you know when we go live or we upload any videos such as this one. Right, so we start off with, of course, Bruno and Isak. Now, it's been reported, Billy, that Bruno and Isak are on the radar of Real Madrid, which I don't think is any massive big surprise. I think Bruno's been on Real Madrid's list for quite some time now. Maybe not Isak, but also since I actually wrote that note down, there's a report come out that Arsenal are apparently monitoring the situation as well. So what do you think that means by monitoring the situation? Because I didn't even know there was a situation with Isak.
I believe Arsenal will be looking to see if there is any give in the Newcastle board as to whether they want to sell him or not. Yeah. And if they do, maybe they'll come in with a counter bid from Real Madrid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure they'll be able to outbid Real Madrid, but you never know. But it's all paper talk. I mean, it's a sign of our success that the players that we have now are being linked with the likes of Real Madrid. It's fantastic for us, really, as long as they don't leave, of course.
Well, I mean, a lot of people have said that, certainly reading through social media, that if they were to go, then certainly, we know Bruno's probably got £100 million release clause in his contract, which it's yet to be confirmed, but that seems to be the gist of it. But Isak as well. I mean, we signed him for 60, didn't we? So we're going to get a lot of money for him. So a lot of Newcastle fans have been saying, well, yes, if they did want to go to Real Madrid, which is a huge pull on players, if they did, we're going to get a mighty amount of money back in order to reinvest that in other players.
And both, of course, have Spanish links. Of course, Bruno, Brazilians, and they've got a history of players playing for Real Madrid.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whether Real Madrid would actually want Bruno at this time, they've got a fantastic midfield as it is, with the likes of Jude Bellingham, Tchouaméni, people like that in it. And obviously, Luka Modric isn't getting any younger. Maybe that's why they're looking for a Luka Modric replacement. And I guess Bruno Guimaraes is pretty similar to Luka Modric in many ways.
Yeah.
But as for the Isak one, he, of course, played for Sociedad. But I expect we'd want double our money back on him. Of course we would.
Oh, absolutely.
And if we would sell both, £220 million, constitute £660 million in FFP, maybe
it's an awful lot of money. It's an awful lot of money. So you'd be able to replace them. I know sometimes when, you're top of the tree, players leave the club and then people are worried about saying, they're irreplaceable and things like that. That kind of money, I would probably think that they are replaceable, because you can spend a fortune on a few players with that kind of money. But this Bruno thing with his release clause, Billy, I mean, we don't know the ins and outs of it. Of course, it hasn't even been released by the club yet. So, it might not even come into force for a couple of years. We know that these sort of release clauses are, right, it starts in the summer of 2025 or something like that, which, Real Madrid will obviously monitor the situation, but it all depends on how Bruno's career goes at Newcastle as to whether anyone wants to activate that kind of money.
Absolutely. It's in Bruno's interest to keep up the fantastic level of form that he's reaching at the minute. And I've got no doubt that he will. He's a quality world-class player. And clubs of the likes of Real Madrid will be looking at him. I mean, he's a terrific player, as I said earlier, with Luka Modric pretty close to retirement. You'd think he's 37, 38 years of age.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He's a ready-made kind of replacement for him, isn't he? So I wouldn't be too surprised if Real Madrid would be monitoring Bruno. Absolutely makes sense to me.
Well, we'll see how that story pans out over the next couple of years, but I don't expect anything to happen either in this winter window or even the transfer window of next summer. I think Bruno has decisively said that he wants to stay. He proved that at Sheffield United when he scored the goal. He was quite passionate, Billy, when he said, "I'm effing staying." He really wanted to put a message across.
Absolutely, yeah. He's bought into it from day one, hasn't he? Into the whole vibe of the club and the city in which he now lives. Mm-hmm. He's really bought into hook, line, and sinker, and that's why he's such a favourite of the fans. I think you've got to do that to be able to kind of be on the side of the Toon Army, and he is definitely he's loved by one and all, isn't he?
Yeah, but like you say, it's a sign of the times, isn't it? We're going to get linked with big players, but also our big players are going to be linked elsewhere as well. That's just something that goes on in football. But let me know in the comments below. Would you like, if we did have to say goodbye to these sort of players, are you expecting that to happen in the coming years and getting a lot of money for them, obviously, so we can go back in and bring even better players in with that kind of cash? Let us know what you think down in the comments. Now we move on to Newcastle centre-back problems, Billy, and this has been a highlight for quite some time now. Of course, Dummett and Lascelles came in against Man City. Lascelles came in again at the weekend and did really, really well. But there are reports going around this morning that Newcastle are likely to go back in for Joachim Andersen, of course, at Crystal Palace in the winter window. So the Botman injury is concerning me a little bit, because I think with reports like that coming out today, Botman, might not necessarily be fit for a while.
Yeah, it's a bit concerning. The fact that we weren't aware of how serious this injury was a month, it's a fair time out. We're still not sure what the injury actually is. Some people are saying knee. Some people are saying it's a spinal injury from when he fell on his backside at Sheffield. No one's actually sure what the injury is, but he looked pretty comfortable sitting in the stands on Saturday.
Yeah, he did.
But we definitely need depth at centre-back. There's no doubt about it. We can't go through a season with Paul Dummett potentially playing in the side. And although he played fantastically against Man City, you wouldn't want him playing on a regular basis. And, we're only kind of 2 injuries away from that happening. So we do definitely expect...
I don't think Dummett even expects that to happen, to be honest.
Not.
I mean, he knows he's going to play a select few games. And look, when he comes in, all he can do is his best. And, if his best isn't good enough, well, so be it. But certainly it was against Manchester City. Bit of a ropey start, but he hasn't played for a while. So he grew into the game. And as for Lascelles, well, his contract is, of course, up at the end of the season. There is no talk of Newcastle United extending that contract. So you would think that if Lascelles is going to leave in the summer, maybe they want to bring Andersen in the winter without having to sort of gel him into the club, if you like, in the summer. He's already there, and he will have a full pre-season with the squad. He'll know all the players. And, of course, he'll get quite a few games between the winter and the end of the season.
Yeah, but whether Andersen would want to come in as a second-string centre-back, which he would be behind Cher and Botman, I'm not too sure. I think Andersen's got higher echelons than that. He's the first choice for Crystal Palace. Been playing very well this season. Even scored a fantastic goal at Old Trafford on Saturday. So I'm not sure we could kind of get him as a second string. But of course, players are there for competition. Maybe you'd think it'd be a fantastic opportunity for him with Fabian Cher again, not getting younger, to establish himself in a Champions League side.
And he could come in and maybe dislodge Cher eventually. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but when you've got a player of his quality, then you just never know, do you? So anyway, that looks like that might happen, guys. So is Joachim Andersen somebody that you would like to see come in to Newcastle United in the winter transfer window, I should say? Now, Callum Wilson. There's a lot of rumours going on about Callum, Billy, this morning, and a lot of the Northeast journalists are stating that Callum Wilson should be back for the game on Wednesday. However, the Telegraph have reported that he's out alongside Joe Linton and Botman. Now, we know who writes for the Telegraph. His name shall not be released. I think everybody knows who he is. And he's been wrong on many, many occasions. Is Wilson a worry for you, do you think, if he does come in on Wednesday? Because I don't know. I think they'll only start him if he's 100% ready to go, Billy.
Well, he's rested. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Alexander Isak has played 2 games since the last Sheffield United game. So, the Wednesday and the Saturday. Can he go again Wednesday? I'm not sure. I'd like to see a fresh striker in, and I think if Callum Wilson is fit, I think he'll start. It's strange that the said journalist from the Telegraph always puts the opposite slant to what everyone else does, doesn't he? and he's been wrong virtually every time he does
every
it. So
time.
I'll pay no attention to Mr. So-and-so that we're not going to mention. I think he'll play Saturday, Wednesday if he's fit, Wilson. I think he's fresh, and he plays best when fresh, and I think he'll start Wednesday.
I think he will start because I think if he is fit and he starts, he'll give he'll give that back line of PSG something that they're really not used to, an old-fashioned English centre forward who likes to, likes the physical side of the game. He likes to rough the defenders up. He likes to play off them. So I really think Wilson can do a really good job providing he's fit. But if he's not, we know Isak's been playing with a bit of a knock to the knee. But we'll discuss all that in the preview show live tomorrow night, of course, at 7:00. So don't miss that, guys. But it will be very interesting to see if Callum Wilson is in or he's out on Wednesday. Now then, World Cup winner Frank Leboeuf, who of course played for Chelsea for many, many years, has warned PSG that it's going to be hell for them at St James's Park on Wednesday night, Billy, because of the atmosphere that St James's Park can generate. Now, we've seen on social media today, the light display of the shirt, the badge that they're planning to use on Wednesday night. They are really making this a huge occasion, as it should be, actually. It's very exciting, but for somebody like Frank Leboeuf to turn around and warn Paris Saint-Germain that they're walking into a hell of an atmosphere, the fans have to play their part, Billy, and the players have to harness that and use that to their advantage, which we've seen many times over the months.
Yeah, I think we've got to kind of hang on to any kind of advantage we can get, and the crowd is certainly one of them. I don't think really that they need G'ing up any. I think they're excited as it is without the lights, but the lights are fantastic. The drone lights and things like that look superb. They will kind of make the crowd much better and atmosphere-wise. I think they will G the crowd up. More flags you display, of course, will do that.
Yeah.
And Frank Leboeuf's right. I think they are going to be worried by what they could walk into on Wednesday night. It's something they would not have seen before. They talk about the famous Anfield nights. I don't think anything compares to St James's Park.
Oh, absolutely, 100%
under the lights against a big opposition. I think it's going to be loud, vociferous, hostile, and it'll be fantastic for our players to have that on our side.
Extremely exciting as well, because we know what it's like under the lights, and Paris Saint-Germain aren't exactly playing the greatest football in the world at the minute as well. So maybe, just maybe, I mean, it all depends what team we put out. We've got to be brutally honest here and say that, I mean, again, we'll cover this tomorrow night in more detail, but we are short of some very, very good players that we know would be in that starting 11. But we've seen it many times before. The players do harness the atmosphere. They G the fans up. We do the same back. And it's important that they keep that level of intensity at St James's Park. So the fans are going to play a very, very big part in this game, Billy.
Absolutely. It's a case of the fans singing to, inspire the players, and then the players playing at a certain level that will keep the fans in the game. And if 90 minutes of that, it's hard to kind of ignore it. You can't just block it out. The volume of the chanting and the cheering. I think PSG are going to find it hard. I really do. They may have some experienced players, World Cup winners, and all sorts on the side, but have they been used to anything like this before? I beg to differ. I don't think they have.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of those players for PSG have Champions League experience, and they'll have been used to very intense atmospheres. But I think when you talk about atmospheres there, it's very, very different at St James's Park. You can't put it into words. You have to experience it. And some of them PSG players won't have experienced an atmosphere like St James's Park. It's very on top of you, because a lot of these European stadiums have, these running tracks around, and you don't quite get the atmosphere that you do when the crowd are on top of you like that. So it's very exciting. Let us know in the comments how excited you are for Wednesday night, and do you think that St James's Park atmosphere can drive the lads on to a victory on Wednesday? Now, finally, Alan Shearer has come out and said that Newcastle United should strive to make Victor Osimhen one of their priorities come the next window. Now, as we do know, there's a lot going on with Osimhen and Napoli at the minute because of certain things that happened a couple of weeks ago, which we're not going to dive into, but there was a TikTok came out of Osimhen from Napoli themselves, and it wasn't very nice at all. And there's a lot of problems between player and club there, Billy, and it looks like he will move eventually. is it a chance that a winter transfer move for Osimhen is possible? And would you put Newcastle among the teams that could actually sign him?
Not in the winter. I think we need to kind of increase our FFP value first. We may do that by what we spoke about first. A sale of Alexander Isak for £120 million, say, gives us £360 million FFP. Now I think you could get his Osimhen for £150 million, and then we're quitting at the Leeds end. We've got a better striker. You know, we may have paid a little bit more for him, but he's the only striker in world football that I can see that could actually challenge Haaland for the Golden Boot in England. Absolutely. The man's an absolute genius.
He is. He's up there with the best. And I still can't believe what Napoli did, to be honest. It doesn't make any sense. You know, their number one striker, and they risk sort of upsetting him. Well, they have upset him. It's not a risk anymore. They have. And he's made that very, very clear to all media outlets that he is disgusted with what happened. And rightly so. It was shocking. He is their number one man. He scored bags of goals for them, helped them, of course, to the Serie A title last season. So he's a big player for them. And if we could attract a player like Osimhen, it would be absolutely incredible. And the fact that Alan Shearer has stepped up and said that, you know, Newcastle United should strive to get him. You know, I wonder if he would get involved as an ambassador, Billy, further down the line, if anything was to happen with Osimhen.
100%. Absolutely he would. You know, players do look up to former heroes and players from yesteryear, and Alan Shearer is one of the greatest strikers that England's ever produced. So I'm sure Victor Osimhen would know who he is and has watched him and maybe even equated his style to his, because, I mean, they're both powerful strikers. Before his injuries, he was quick as well, Shearer. So Osimhen's got all those things, plus he's a great finisher, which, of course, Shearer was. You know, he'd be a fantastic kind of role model for Osimhen.
I mean, could you imagine what it'd be like for the Newcastle fans? I mean, especially if he wears the mask. You know, there'd be Newcastle fans with masks on in the ground. He would be a hero. But, you know, let's not get carried away. This guy is going to cost an awful lot of money. Whether that be the sale of a player like Billy's just mentioned, or, you know, we wait until the summer. We've got Champions League money. We've got a new sponsor. There's a lot of money going to be coming into the club from next summer. So you never know. You never know. And listen, we have the richest owners in the world. FFP has restricted us, but the more money we've got coming into the club will enable us to spend on big name players. So Osimhen is certainly one that, I mean, I don't think anybody would turn down for coming to Newcastle. I don't think there's one supporter that would look and say, I'm not sure about Osimhen. He would be absolutely superb. But there you go. That is today's daily news, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it with me and Billy Bob. If you have, don't forget to give it the thumbs up. It's very, very important to the channel. I keep banging on about it, but it really is. It keeps us up there in the search results so fellow fans like yourselves can find the channel. And of course, if you are new and you like what you see, lots of this type of content on the channel, as well as live shows nearly every night of the week. We bring you all Newcastle United news, action, commentary, everything on here, as well as talk about football in general, of course, as well. So please do subscribe. It's completely free. And of course, the notification bell, hit that, and that will tell you when we schedule our live shows or we upload videos such as this. You can, of course, still vote for us in the Football Content Awards. That link is pinned at the top of the description. Just click on it, scroll down to Best Podcast, and you will see a drop-down menu for Premier League. Just hit that, hit the Toon Review, and keep the votes coming in. Clear your cache, go back, vote again. As many times. We are against some very, very big hitters when we go to the awards in November. The voting's open for a couple more weeks now, so please, please, please keep voting for the Toon Review. And of course, don't forget, you can get your Toon Review merchandise at thetoonreview.co.uk. That link is in the description, halfway down or somewhere like that. It is in the description, though, but it's not very difficult to remember that website. And of course, I just released this morning, we now have our channel mascot, Daisy, on one of the mugs as well. A lot of you have been asking for that. So head to the website and have a look and see what you think. But in the meantime, guys, thank you very much for watching. We will be back tomorrow night. We're having a night off tonight. If you're watching this on the Monday, we'll be back at 7 o'clock with the match preview for the Paris Saint-Germain game on Wednesday night. But until then, from me and Billy, see you soon.
Afternoon.